Ukraine, a country of 48 million people situated in Eastern Europe. In terms of land area, Ukraine is the largest European country. Since 1991, the year it declared independence, Ukraine was labeled as a regional leader because of its political and economic potential. President Viktor Yushchenko associates strong villages, towns, and cities with a strong Ukraine. Ukrainians began to understand this and the role the community has in society, the true meaning of local government, the very essence of which was missing during its totalitarian past. In order to bring local authorities and communities closer together, as well as expose them to international experience in resolving local problems, the U.S. Ukraine Foundation began the USAID-funded Community Partnerships Project.
It was important to turn our focus on to work at the grassroots level, at the city level, because frankly, that is where people most directly are influenced by the results of their government officials, but also where the greatest opportunity lies, where people can directly contact or be in communications with their government officials.
The Ukrainian-American Community Partnerships Project was implemented in several stages.
These partnerships included various cities throughout Ukraine, as well as throughout the United States, and perhaps it would be important to mention at least some of them to see the scope of the relationships. We had cities that you will see in the film, the ones that we are focusing on: Cherkasy, Kamyanets-Podilsky, Berdyansk, and Artemiusk. But you will also hear about cities, for instance, Slavutich and Richland, Washington, Kalush and Little Rock, Arkansas, Svetlovodsk and Springfield, Komsomolsk and Ithaca, New York, Donetsk and Louisville, Lviv and Philadelphia, Romny and Longview, Texas, Rubizhne and Louisville, Krasnodon and Birmingham, Alabama, that has already been mentioned, Kharkiv and Cincinnati, which is one of the longest relationships.
Professional exchanges within the framework of the Community Partnerships Project helped establish close ties between Ukrainian and American, local government officials and experts. 215 Ukrainian trainees had the opportunity to witness American experience in practice. Likewise, 217 American experts visited Ukraine. This enabled Ukrainian officials to not only carry out partnership tasks, but also gave them the confidence to continue implementing other innovative projects.
The aim was to accomplish small things, as we said, small successes, not grand illusions. And what kept them on target, so to speak, were the actual USAID fulfillment of IRs. We had to prove and demonstrate that this program was effective. The whole mindset was changed. The psyche, the most important aspect of the program. The local government officials understood that without citizen participation, they cannot achieve changes, they cannot improve the community. And so this citizen participation also led to the change in the attitudes of the local government officials, that they are there to serve the community.
The regional partnership approach concept was introduced in the third phase of the Community Partnerships Project, where 5 regional training centers were established in the western, eastern, southern, central, and northern regions of Ukraine. The leadership cities, who built their success upon combining international experience in this field with their own unique Ukrainian experience, are today already performing the role of mentor cities. In other words, they are transferring their seasoned knowledge and expertise through a chain reaction that fosters a network of successful municipal development.
Participation in this program enabled us to believe in ourselves. The best thing that happened was finding partners inside Ukraine. The 17 Ukrainian cities that were included in the City Partnership Network became each other's closest partners. So we started working together. A breeding ground for experience emerged.
You see the ripple effect and the replication, and this is part of what our whole program is about. Through our publications of the Partnery in Ukrainian, which is a monthly, and also the English language partners, which is a quarterly, but also through our journal Aspekti Samovriadovanja. And people read about this because this journal and the bulletin are sent to all of the cities and many of the villages in Ukraine.
The city of Artemiivsk became the first link of a large chain of joint projects within the framework of the Community Partnerships Project. Work among the partnership cities went beyond project boundaries at a certain phase in the project, such as teacher exchanges, charity work, and making business contacts. The cities of Artemiivsk and Omaha, Nebraska even became co-participants in the middle school partnership program sponsored by the U.S. State Department. John Janetta, the partnerships coordinator, after visiting Artemiivsk and concerning himself with the plight of a local orphan, founded the NGO Omahans for Orphans in Omaha. Tatiana Kutarai, 13 years old. She dreams of being an actress, likes pizza. These are the words from one of the many Christmas cards decorated by Tatiana's drawings. The drawings made by orphans at one of the boarding schools were printed and sold in Omaha. Total amount of money collected, $7,000, all of which went towards the needs of Ukrainian orphans. The U.S. Ukraine Foundation helped organize this event.
The money that was collected through Operation Ukraine was sent to Artemiivsk in January 2005, and through Kelly Beer's help, who stood at the forefront of the project, much-needed equipment was acquired for the boarding school and orphanage.
A group of Artemiivsk junior high school students from schools numbers 7, 11, and 12 were sent to the United States to improve their English. Later, these same children, in the capacity of volunteers, taught English to children at boarding schools. Soon, computer literacy will be taught according to the same model. Toila is a participant of yet another project launched in Omaha that supports graduates of boarding schools. He receives an academic scholarship from Americans in order to attend a high school. For many orphans, this is seemingly the only way of making it in the world. Cooperation in a community, a concept that Ukrainians borrow from Americans in their work with each other.
In 1997, the first partnerships were established between Ukrainian and American cities. Our Ukrainian cities operated for a long time under a planned economy, so we were never prepared to survive on our own. Today, every city is beginning to notice that a city is its own small country, its own community, which should develop as a separate entity and survive on its own.
Partnership activities entail compiling work plans that are jointly agreed upon by both sides aimed at achieving specific results by the Ukrainian partner with the support of its American counterpart. The work plans that have clearly defined partnership tasks included in its terms of implementation help organize and better monitor partnership activity.
When we started working in the partnership project, we re-evaluated our attitude towards democratic principles. Democracy isn't simply words, it's a way of doing something real and for the good of a person. The most important thing is to encourage the community, its residents, and non-governmental organizations.
Changing the way people think is a catalyst for other changes. Artemiivsk became one of the top 5 most developed cities in the entire region. The average monthly salary for an Artemiivsk resident is $150 per month, which is quite an impressive economic indicator for this region. Paved roads, a reconstructed embankment, budding small and medium-sized businesses, new street lighting. Several years back, had the residents of Berdyansk been told that this soon will happen, they would have never believed it. However, Berdyansk has all of this already. Mayor Valery Baranov drafted a 50-point to-do list for himself after returning from his partner city of Lowell, Massachusetts several years ago while interning under the U.S. Ukraine Foundation project.
What did we mainly learn from working with the Americans? Strategic planning. It's a drafted ad hoc. We compile a list of the city's need areas, develop a plan, set priorities, and then, according to line-item budget accounts, we literally end up spending money based on the people's wishes.
Until recently, to see a copy of a city's budget, the average Ukrainian was forced to go through so many obstacles that would have presented a challenge for even the best investigative journalist. Today, when Ukrainians have the right to transparently elect public officers, they in turn have come to realize that their post rests on the will of the electorate. The Berdyansk city budget is posted on the internet, down to the very last cent. Furthermore, every resident can submit their own propositions to the city's strategic development plan via the numerous community initiative centers around the city. The entryway to this residential building was in a dilapidated state. Residents grew tired of living this way, so they collected money, and through the Community Initiative's Territorial Center, came to an agreement with the Municipal Housing Authority to renovate it.
Lately, people have become very socially active. Perhaps they felt the spirit of freedom, democracy, a loosening up of things, and they've understood that they're being heard, and they want to be heard.
The experience gained from working with Americans helped Berdyansk become the first Ukrainian city certified with the international standard ISO 9001. The city earned $300,000 by leasing land and property in its inventory, and almost $2.5 million from land taxes. This accounts for 1/5 of the city's budget. Simplifying the procedure for registering a business combined with the opening of business centers has increased budget cash revenues from small and medium-sized enterprises. As a result, its $6.5 million city debt is a thing of the past. Berdyansk mayor energetically attracts college students from the other regions in Ukraine by promoting the city's institutions of higher learning. As a result, there are 10,000 students in the city. Berdyansk institutions of higher learning are of international caliber due to its collaboration with the Academy of Management and Information Technology. In its partner city of Lowell, Massachusetts, Berdyansk has become the leader of distance learning in Ukraine.
We've been very proud to be a partner for many years with the Academy, and we look forward to future partnerships to expand our relationship. From that relationship with the U.S. Ukraine Foundation, our Associate Provost developed a proposal that began this program, helped start this program.
In just a few years, the small city of Berdyansk has gone from provincial neglect to become a pearl on the Azov Sea coast. The city of 124,000 hosts over 400,000 guests every year.
When we erected the bullhead fish monument, we noticed that a large number of bullheads appeared in the water. We thought it was an anomaly, that it couldn't be, but people went fishing for them on the shore. Maybe it's a coincidence with events, or a sign of gratitude that we impressed the fish so much.
Ola Hribneva is a fashion designer from Cherkasy and has visited her partner city of Des Moines, Iowa, 3 times within the project framework of CPP.
I very much enjoyed working with Americans in this project, since they've always shown a genuine interest not only in me personally, but in our surroundings, our people, our Ukraine. It was very moving.
The experience Olha gained helped her showcase her clothing collections in the U.S., Switzerland, and Russia. Svetlana Bondarenko designs clothing for mass production. She also benefited from an internship organized by the CPP.
Wholly new ideas sunk in that I only heard in the United States. These ideas became a formula for success in business.
Svetlana is betting on selling her designer clothes on the internet. Together with her friends, she bought a factory in the Poltava region, the first step in realizing her dream. She says that Americans taught her one thing, and that is to count on yourself, and business started booming. She created 60 jobs and expects to create 50 more in the near future. Partnership work results. A quarter of Cherkasy's budget revenue comes from small and medium-sized enterprises. 70% comes from the taxes paid by city residents. The move towards securing fresh water for Cherkasy started with its partner city of Des Moines in 2 stages to create awareness among city residents on the importance of conserving water and changing the aged plumbing system. Public pressure compelled the city in issuing $100,000 for changing the water supply. Water quality is now controlled by the laboratory equipment received by the Cherkasy Waterworks within the project framework with Des Moines. The expertise brought by L.D. McMullen and Bob Mickle, the professionals from Des Moines, to the citizens of Cherkasy was also of great benefit to the government officials of the entire region. Moreover, hands-on expertise provided by Louisville, Cincinnati, and Lowell water supply experts attracted the attention of specialists from all over Ukraine.
Each partnerships has spun off into different kinds of activities. We've had cities like Omaha who got involved in youth exchanges and working with orphanages, Des Moines, Iowa also working with the business sector in Cherkasy, Rotary clubs and youth programs as well. It's just each community have found something in addition to what our project required that they wanted to work together. And it's been very, very heartening, the kind of enthusiasm and dedication.
The Cherkasy Strategic Development Plan is developed by involving municipal leaders, area business leaders, and community members.
I personally, and those who were with me in America, came to a definite conclusion. Not having a strategic development plan for Cherkasy for at least 10, 15, or 20 years will make it difficult to prioritize and to properly, effectively, and quickly develop so that the city stands on its feet.
The U.S. Ukraine Foundation helps in identifying and setting main priorities.
The topic of strategic planning is an interesting one, where one can track changes in the way people think on a municipal level. Let's say earlier, back in 1998, a group of municipal managers thought they were in charge and the rest should listen to them. Today, the opposite is true.
Kamieniec-Podilsky is a city of 100,000 people in western Ukraine. It became one of the first cities in Europe to adopt the Magdeburg Law, doing so in 1374. It gave its citizens the right to elect local government officials and to allocate funds collected by the city according to the will of the people. Indeed, the Magdeburg Rights Museum attests to this fact. The museum itself is unique as it was enthusiastically built and financed by the city's residents. Last year, 170,000 tourists visited the city, 17,000 of which were foreigners.
The largest groups of foreigners who come are Polish. Many French and English tourists just left, and today there was a group from the United States. On the weekends, guests from the East come, mainly Koreans and Japanese.
In 5 years' time, income from the museum has increased threefold, and small and medium-sized businesses, which essentially serve the tourist sector, contribute 32% of the budget revenue. The number of tourists has grown proportionately with the growing number of tourist facilities. In turn, tourist infrastructure development has proportionally grown with how favorable conditions have improved for business. Favorable business conditions are the government embodying the wishes of the community. The so-called proportion theory in Kamieniec-Podilsky was borrowed from the Americans after getting to know it firsthand from its partner city of Athens, Georgia.
When I and my colleagues returned from our internship in Athens, Georgia, we immediately began applying American experience in our work and holding community meetings with regard to writing the city budget. The city government presented its version of the budget and, in turn, listened to suggestions from the community. Oftentimes, the city and the people didn't see eye to eye. However, the city relented and listened to community representatives in planning budgetary expenses.
There is an NGO called the Kamieniec-Podilsky Renaissance, a laboratory for sociological research in the city. The NGO's approach to city development strengthens the community's initiative.
Mainly due exclusively to the CPP did we start the process of writing and gathering all the necessary documents for a strategic city development plan. The first one was the strategic city development plan up until 2005. The next one was the investment plan for attracting investment into the city's economy. Following this was the tourism development project.
The goal method of writing a budget, borrowed from the Americans, allows the local community to direct funds to various social programs. 7 bus routes for school children were created in Kamieniec-Podilsky, a city police department was opened, and bureaus were opened in district centers to bring citizens closer to the municipal government. An internet library allows community members to control and monitor government activity. An institute of family medicine is in the process of being built.
A patient deserves attention where he is, and at that very critical moment. The main thing is change. There should always be preventative medical care made directly available to the patient and in close proximity.
Last year, 114 social programs aimed at improving the lives of city residents were implemented.
The youngest member of our city council is 45 years old. That said, what can a person who is approaching his retirement age actually comprehend? How can he truly understand the interests of the youth? We're currently living in a period of great changes, a time when our society is becoming ever more democratic, when young people are coming into power, and when government is no longer a mob of pensioners. The need for new blood is becoming more evident.
Many participants of the Young Leaders 2005 project are armed with a world-renowned education from respected institutions, which was arranged by the U.S. Ukraine Foundation. This program gave students the opportunity to meet with leading Ukrainian politicians. They came to know the role and influence of advanced institutions, about Ukrainian-American relations, the need for activists in society, but most importantly, about the many possibilities of starting a career in Ukraine. In addition, the students had the wonderful chance of conversing with their American counterparts of the same age. Their energy and abilities should now be channeled towards the development of Ukrainian cities and towns. Previously, managers of local government were not trained for their jobs in Ukraine. The U.S. Ukraine Foundation bridged this gap in the span of 2 years by giving a course in municipal management training.
We are all gifted with the ability to make a difference.
У кожного з нас є дар робити речі інакшими, вносити зміну.
Each of us can shape our own future and influence the future of others. Each of us has the power to help our organizations reach their goals.
Municipal managers should become valuable links in building democracy at the local level. President Yushchenko's appearance at the CPP International Conference lasted an hour and a half instead of the initially planned 30 minutes. We are ready to change the relationship between local government and the state. The President is your partner in these changes. He assured the 335 conference participants, including 104 Ukrainian city mayors, diplomats, and scientists. Noticing the gap in dialogue with national authorities, local governmental officials during the conference had the chance to speak with parliamentary committee heads. Until recently, the national and local governments functioned in their own worlds. In order for the two worlds to merge, in order for the government to become more effective, so that every voice is heard from each city, town, village, the U.S. Ukraine Foundation will continue working.
What's important about the American experience, because as rich as a country as the United States is, that in every sector of society in the United States, you see community activism and the sense of volunteerism. And that truly actually did become, I think, the most important lesson that Ukrainians or others can get from the American experience. That it's not just about money and resources, that the engagement of the community is critical to solving problems. One of the visions for the project was that we wanted to work with a large number of cities so that we could create critical mass. Because we understood that it would be very difficult to effect reform in only 1 or 2 cities. There was a lot of, in the mid-90s, people still were not feeling comfortable with change or trying new things. And so we felt if we could create this network where people would see that they're not the only ones trying, that they could reinforce each other, that this would be a very important thing to try and accomplish. I think that has worked beyond what we had hoped for. We're also obviously very grateful to our sponsors, USAID, because without the support that we've received from them over the last 7 years, we would not have been able to do what we've done. And we believe and trust that we have used their funds wisely and most effectively.